After 42 hours of grinding, I finished Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm gonna be answering a very frequent question that people might have. How does the game compare to previous Assassin's Creed games, or even games like Ghost of Tsushima and other RPG AAA titles? A lot of people might also be like, when there is Ghost of Tsushima, why play this game? In this video, I will try to give my honest feedback on the game, and what would I rate it personally. Before I start the video, I just want to thank Ubisoft for providing me with access to this game a little early. But anyways, let's start with the most important thing about this game, and that is the graphics of the game. Now, if you guys don't know, this game has been specifically built for next-gen consoles. So for that, they don't have to worry about optimization and stuff like that to support the previous gen consoles. And because of that, they get to implement a lot of new technology in the game. One of the most important technology that is used in this game is RTGI, that is Ray Traced Global Illumination. And if you guys don't know, global illumination is basically lights bouncing around in the scene, and it just kind of gives a realistic form of lighting in the environment. That is like the simplest explanation. Just look at the difference between ray traced global illumination on versus off. There is a massive difference in how the lighting is done in the game. Till the previous Assassin's Creed game, that was Assassin's Creed Mirage, Assassin's Creed games were using the technology called baked lighting, meaning the lighting were already pre-rendered. But from this game, they have changed a lot because obviously the hardware is also getting more capable. Also, there are a ton of dynamics that are present in the game, like for example different seasons that are going to completely change the way you play the game, and there are so many more minor details that I can make a literal video on. Also, despite of the game having so many of these new things, it is a very stable game. I was playing on an RTX 3070. I don't have a really good PC. I have like a RTX 3070 like mid-budget sort of PC, a little better than mid-budget, but the game was running pretty good. I was on RTGI, I was on medium to high settings in most of the things, but still my game was working very smooth. I had no issues with like crazy FPS drops or anything like that. Sure, there are differences in FPS if you look in the sky and then point it down, if there is something crazy going on in your frame. Like if you guys play the beginning part of the game, there is like a massive fight with Yasuke and there's like fire and there is like a complete war going on basically. In that area the FPS is less, but still it does not drop like crazy. There were some bugs here and there in the game, but again they were negligible, and you know, I have recorded the gameplay for 42 hours and I cannot really find those things because, you know, scanning through those 42 hours it's gonna take a lot of time. But sometimes they did occur. For example, there was this one bug where I was not able to grapple on top of a place where there was a synchronization point, and that was kind of annoying. There are some things like that in between, but overall I did not find it that much disturbing to me. And now let's move on to the gameplay. Out of 42 hours I played, 25 would be just doing side quests and, you know, raiding palaces to level up my gears and collecting money and other, you know, things to, you know, level up my gear. This is like very similar to the other RPG Assassin's Creed games that you have to grind a lot in order to gain XP, and with that XP you can play the major quests in the game. You need to have like a certain level to do a certain quest. It's not like you can just full on go and play the main quest and that's it. Though I would say that there is nothing as main quest but major quests, you know, like killing the main guys of the game. And I know it can be a little hard for normal working people, but this is how this game works. You need to level up a lot. If you try to play this game without leveling up and stuff like that, it's gonna be a pain in your ass, because if you are not leveled up, it's gonna be kind of hard. Unless you are like a really good player, then you can proceed with the further quests. It's gonna be hard, and at some point you need to level up. There is only so much that you could go through, right? If you're, for example, 5 to 10 level under, then it's fine, but above 5 to 10 levels, I mean, it kind of becomes like almost impossible, right? In that case, you need to level up a little bit as well. Mostly what I was doing was like, I tried to reach the level of the main quest. I was at least keeping like 2 to 3 level difference between the quests and my level. The max was like 4 level difference or something like that, but mostly it was just 2-3 level difference for me. I was leveling up. I was also working on the skill tree as well. Now, one thing that I find the most impressive about this game is the combat system of the game. It is probably the best in the series. I feel like it is very similar to that of Ghost of Tsushima, but it has its own taste as well. It's not completely same, but the way everything feels, it's kind of similar to that of Ghost of Tsushima. The combat seems very fluid and satisfying. Especially I'd say like Yasuke's combat, I surprisingly found it really fun. Now his combat was also sick, but it focused more on the acrobatic skills of her than to actually, kill the guy. It focused really on how she does it than how much damage she gives. But with Yasuke, the damage is insane on the people, and also he can take a lot of damage himself. So surprisingly, I was playing with Yasuke a lot in this game. I was thinking that I'm gonna do a lot of quests with Naoe, most of the things I'm gonna do with Naoe, but when I was actually playing the game, in certain instances where you have to do duels and stuff like that, there's boss fights and stuff like that. I'm not gonna give the names. I was most of the times choosing to play as Yasuke because I already knew that he specializes in this aspect of the game. Sure, Naoe could do it, but I would prefer to do it with Yasuke. It is just more preferable to me because he takes less damage and he also gives more damage, and he has a lot of different combat skills that Naoe does not have. With Naoe, you are gonna play like a very specific way. With Naoe, what you're gonna do is you're gonna enter like a palace and then just scan around and see how many enemies are there, and then assassinate them from behind and don't show your face basically, don't go in front of the enemies. Though I would say that even in situations that I was caught with playing Naoe, I was able to handle myself. It was still not very bad. I was able to do it properly, but after like you have 6 or 7 people, then it starts getting harder. But with Yasuke, even if there are like 10 people on you, it just did not feel difficult to me. It was still very much doable, especially if you matched the level of the enemies, and the overall difficulty in this thing was not that much compared to Ghost of Tsushima. In Ghost of Tsushima, I remember that fighting major people in the game, it was actually hard. In some instances, I had to try multiple times, and in this game, it did not feel like that. I was able to like almost kill everyone in one single try. Only in certain instances I had some issues, like for example there was this mission in which 3 people were there and all of them were like 3 high level enemies, alright, and it was part of like a major quest. In that I kind of felt it was a little difficult because there was this guy who was like literally doing auto suicide. Whenever you kill him, he just throws a bomb on himself, and I also died. Other than some other few instances, I did not find it that difficult. Now moving on to a very important pillar of the game, the Assassin's Creed franchise, that is the parkour. The parkour, I feel like I did not even think of it in a way. It was like very neutral to me. I did not really find it that important in the game. I did not really find it playing that big of a part in the game. With Naoe, you can do some cool parkour moves, but other than that, I just did not find it that impressive like Assassin's Creed Unity's parkour was or Syndicate's parkour was. It was not like that. Again, you need to keep in mind the difference between those games and this game, alright? With Unity and Syndicate, what I feel like the difference was with the parkour was that the parkour was actually motion captured. The parkour actually felt like they have real physics in the game, but in this game, it feels like what they have done is animated the parkour moves. Meanwhile, with Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate, they have motion captured the parkour moves, and that's why there is actual physics that you can see. The way Arno jumps, the way his flow is, the fluidity of the way he moves, it feels like there is physics involved with that. But with this game, it still feels like it is a game. It is a parkour in a game. It does not feel like there is physics involved in the parkour, other than the swinging motion when you use the grappling hook and stuff like that. The parkour, I would say, overall is very much similar to the previous Assassin's Creed games. Just there's some additional moves that are added, some additional animations that are added to Naoe's parkour, and some of Yasuke's as well. Yasuke basically can barely do parkour. He can climb like a floor or something like that, but he cannot do things that you think you cannot do. That's kind of hilarious way to put it, but if you can do certain parkour things in real life, then Yasuke can do that. If you think that this parkour move is not possible in real life, then Yasuke can also not do that. But with Naoe, just like any other Assassin's Creed games, you can pretty much climb a lot of stuff. There are certain instances where there are like rocks and stuff like that where you cannot parkour on, but if it's like a building, normal building, you can generally parkour on that stuff if you can see some detailings and stuff like that on that building. If it's like a flat wall, then obviously you cannot do that. It is pretty fast with her, I would say that, obviously, compared to the horrible Assassin's Creed Valhalla's parkour. Again, there is not something like package objects or something like that. I feel like in some days there's gonna be like a modder or someone who is gonna add it in the game like it was done in Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now another pillar that is very crucial to Assassin's Creed franchise is the stealth. So with this game they have added a lot of dynamics in the game, like the actual use of shadows. Yes, you heard it correctly. In Assassin's Creed Shadows, you could actually use shadows to play the game, stealthily. Like for example, there is a shadow in a certain area, you're gonna be less visible in the area, and there is like a spectrum of how visible you are. If you cannot see anything there, probably the enemy also cannot see you there. If you can see yourself a little bit there, then the enemy can see you a little bit there, but the enemy is gonna take a little while to see you properly and detect you. And this thing is kind of attached to a feature in the game that is RTGI that I mentioned already, Ray Traced Global Illumination, that all of the lighting differences that are created in the game happen in real time, and you're gonna see the effects of those differences, and that's how this game takes advantage of its technology. Sometimes what would even happen is that obviously this is like not a negative thing, this is how realistically it should be, but in certain instances what is gonna happen is that you're gonna get inside a room and there's gonna be some enemies. If they are like on you, they are attacking you, you're gonna be stuck in areas where you cannot see anything. You can only see like the little flash that has, when they're trying to do their moves. Like for example, with the red one you dodge, with the whitish blue one you have to parry and stuff like that. You can just see the flash and instantly you have to react. You don't have the time to see like how they are moving and how how they're reacting. It's like really hard in those dark areas, but again it makes it more realistic, right, that you are not able to see that as well. So for that you have to go outside of that room and fight the enemies. Also, they have added the feature of proning in this game. I feel like these things overall, they were good, but still at the end of the day I would have been able to play this game without even these things, guys. These things are like a good addition to the game, but it's still you can very much do without using prone or whatever. Still most of the times I was just simply crouching in a lot of areas and I was hidden. Now the next thing is the thing that basically shapes the game for me personally, and this is the thing that carries the highest amount of points for me to give to the game, and that is the story and the narrative aspect of the game. And as expected, this game did not really perform that good in this aspect to me personally. The facial animations are really not that good quality. The English voice acting is not really that good, though I would say the Japanese version is little better. A lot of people are saying that it is kind of more immersive, and I might have to try in that, but I have seen some clips and it felt kind of good. I might have to turn on the immersive mode to kind of play the game a little bit. And even in this game they did not start implementing the dynamic camera movements that were present in the older Assassin's Creed games, like even in Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed 3, Unity and stuff like that. The way the cameras moved when there was a cutscene going on. In this game most of the cutscenes are like basically like a camera at a fixed spot, that's it, or there's like a little bit of panning here and there, that's it mostly. There's not like dynamic camera movements that make the story more engaging to the people. That does a lot of difference. For example, if you guys have watched like Grand Theft Auto 5, that game does it really good. GTA games in general do that really good. The camera movements are super solid. It's not the camera movements only, but there's like a lot of other things, but the camera movements play a very big role in telling the story. The cinematography is like a very big part how the story reacts with your brain. Though I would say that story overall has a really good plot, but they fail to kind of implement the plot properly with the game due to these bad elements that I mentioned. Like the facial animations were really not that good quality, the voice acting was really not of that good quality. It felt really bland and it felt like a generic Bethesda game. Like for example, if you guys have played Starfield, it felt kind of like that. It was a little better than that. There's no emotions, there's like nothing else. They are just saying like robots. That's how mostly it was with this game. In some instances though, in some cutscenes, it felt like it was little good, but mostly 80 to 90% of the time it was not good, I would say. Now the next thing I'm gonna talk about is gonna have a little bit of spoiler, and that is that some parts I did like. For example, the Lady Oichi's romance part. There was also an assassination of one of the targets we have. He was like a monk, and that was probably one of my favorite assassinations because that character, it was a really surprising, target to me personally. If you guys will play the game, you're gonna understand it, but he was a really surprising target. And the most likable thing in the story, I'd say, which I really liked, it was in the end part, and it was kind of like an epilogue of Yasuke Yasuke and Naoe. So basically what happens is that when you kill all your targets, there is like an epilogue for Yasuke as well as Naoe. So first I did the Naoe one, then I did the Yasuke one. In the Naoe one, we were just basically figuring out, I'm not gonna completely tell it, but her relations to the assassins and stuff like that. With Yasuke, it was his relations with the Templars and how he develops like trying to get revenge. Though they have not given like a specific name like epilogue, it's kind of similar to that. It just completes both of their story and that's it. I feel like majority of the game should have been like the epilogue of Yasuke and Naoe. Mostly like Yasuke's. Yasuke's epilogue was just fire in my opinion. I really like that. But story-wise, overall, I feel like I just do not like the RPG structuring of the game. That you are given specific targets. There's like 12 or something like that, and we have to kill these many guys. And these guys are just wearing masks. And when you figure out who these guys were, their masks were removed, and then we had to kill these guys. But from the beginning itself, we knew that there's gonna be 12 guys. We need to kill these 12 guys, and that's how overall the game is gonna be. They already gave you kind of the roadmap of the game, which I think is just too predictable in my opinion. And this is like the thing that separates the recent AC games with the older Assassin's Creed games, that in those games you did not know what's gonna happen. With Assassin's Creed 1, that was like one of the things that a lot of people complained about, that in the beginning itself there were 9 targets that were given to us and you had to kill those 9 targets, and that was the negative aspect of the game. And they improved on it with Assassin's Creed 2. With Assassin's Creed 2, nothing was given to you in the beginning, alright? We just kind of played the game and figured out more stuff about, the Templar Order and knowing about the assassins. In the beginning, Ezio does not even know anything about the assassins. Slowly he gets to understand what the creed is, and it kind of builds this journey, right? We get to see Ezio's character transformation, right? That he goes through so many things. He, in the beginning, is like completely noob, and in the end, he becomes this master assassin. And that's what we like about the older Assassin's Creed games. I like the unpredictability. I do not want to know the targets already. I want to figure it out while I'm playing the game and knowing about things. I want it to be a surprise. I don't want to be given a complete roadmap of the game that these many targets are there, you need to kill these, and then the game is finished. I just do not like it. And with RPG games, that is just how it is, man. I just don't like this sort of thing. They just should return to the older formula. That is probably the most important part of the narrative aspect of the game. So the conclusion I want to give on this game is that this game is very similar to the recent RPG Assassin's Creed games, and with that, the problems are also carried on with this game. They have not improved the things that were bad in those games. Now obviously, if you are a RPG lover, you're gonna like the vibe of this game, that it is just a grind based game. You have to grind the game. There are some aspects of the game that are improved, little story here and there. There are some assassin aspects, but it is just such a small part of the game. There are some assassin elements in the game, but out of like 100%, only I'd say like 3 to 4% has like an assassin Templar conflict. Other than that, the game is just the basic RPG style Assassin's Creed game. If you like the narrative driven games like the old school Assassin's Creed game, then you should not expect this game to have any resemblance to those games, except some parts that I mentioned. If you guys saw the spoiler part of my video, there I mentioned it, but I would recommend not to see it if you have not played the game already. But to me personally, I enjoyed this game as an RPG game, not as an Assassin's Creed game. Because I already knew from the beginning itself, I already had the expectations that this game is an RPG Assassin's Creed game. It is gonna be very similar to the recent Assassin's Creed games. I already had that mindset, and I was right. That's how it was. With the story, I was kind of like, man, I just, it's just there. I'm not very much focused on that thing. I was mostly focused on like raiding these palaces and getting the new gears and, just how they looked. It was just like this reward sort of feeling that I was getting, right? Killing these samurai dashos and getting the gears, and it was combined with the combat of the game, which was really satisfying. So I would just go with Yasuke and storm the whole palace with Yasuke. Like, it was insane. I would kill every single guy there, kill the samurai dasho. I would just really enjoy that thing, guys. It was fun. But other than that, again, I do not see this game as the older Assassin's Creed game. I do not have the expectation like that. But yeah, again, the ending part was really good in my opinion. I feel like that was only 3 to 4 hours long. but it was probably the best part of the game. But anyways, the rating I'm gonna give to this game is a solid 7 out of 10. 7 might feel a little low because obviously the narrative aspect of this game is just not that good. But for the people who might think, oh, this is a little too high, for them I would say this game has improved a lot on its graphics. Obviously it's a next gen game. The combat is really good. The stealth is a little better. I'd say it has a lot of new dynamics, so it is super good. With Parkour, it is an improved version of the RPG Assassin's Creed games. Till now, I feel like I would put this game above Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was my least favorite one. I did not like that game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Obviously, if you compare all the Assassin's Creed games, Assassin's Creed 2 and Black Flag probably my favorite game. But anyways, again, solid 7 out of 10 game. If you are interested in a game in which you want to grind, collect gears, and raid palaces, stuff like that, this game is for you. If you are type of a guy who just wants like the narrative aspect from the games, then I would have to say this game does have some things, but it is very less. It is, again, as I said, 5%. Comparing this game to Ghost of Tsushima, it has a lot more RPG elements, but the storytelling and narrative is not comparable to Ghost of Tsushima. I have to say that. This is like the main thing that should be focused more on. But anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Currently, I'm kind of busy with things, so I made a video after a very long time. I'm kind of busy with work, then I also have college assignments and stuff like that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Feel free to comment down below what you guys think about this game. If you guys have played the game a little bit or even completed the game. I would be surprised if you guys have already completed the game because it took me a lot of time and I got early access to this game a little bit. Comment down below your thoughts on this game. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.